Hello, today is Friday, June 28th, and welcome to episode 353 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI's Deputy Executive Director, Jessica Jones, and I'm joined today by two NSI Senior Fellows, Martha Miller and Les Munson, and NSI Fellow, Matt Hayden. Thanks, guys. Okay, so before we dive in, we do need to share some pod info. I'm sorry to report that Fault Lines will be going on our summer break on after Monday's episode, July 1st. So next Monday, hopefully we'll have a Jamil Jaffer cameo. It'll be our last episode before the summer hiatus, but we're not going to leave you guys hanging during this brutal DC summer. NSI's Cyber and Tech Center is actually launching a new podcast, Control F, which will kick off July 9th. And it'll provide deep dives into emerging technologies, tech policy, and really the scientific breakthroughs that are driving massive change in the world. It's a little different than Fault Lines. It's going to consist of series, and our first series is going to cover game-changing technologies over 8 episodes, with each episode coming out every 2 weeks and featuring some really big names covering topics like quantum computing, cloud computing, differential privacy. We're going to feature technologists and investors. It's going to be really cool. And at the end of this episode right now, today, we're going to be giving you all an exclusive sneak peek at the first episode, which is on accelerated computing with Eric Breckenfield, who's the Director of Technology Policy at NVIDIA, and Gilman Lumi, former CEO of Incatel and now at America's Frontier Fund. So stay tuned at the end of today, and you will get to catch a little glimpse of that combo. Okay, but what is the Fault Lines crew talking about? Today, we are talking about a series of violent protests that have been taking place in Nairobi, Kenya. On Tuesday, tens of thousands of protesters flooded the capital city. They stormed Kenya's parliament building, actually set parts of it on fire, all in a protest of a bill that was going to impose or raise taxes on a range of daily items and services like bread, fuel, the internet. Amidst the chaos of the attack, which saw lawmakers fleeing and citizens being fired on by the police, at least 22 people have been killed, 300 injured. The military has been deployed. In response, Kenyan President William Ruto, who, if you listen to Fault Lines, we just discussed his recent U.S. state visit, called the attack treasonous and promised to quash the unrest at whatever cost. But he has backed down from the bill and abandoned the bill itself. Some claim that the decision to send in the armed forces was unconstitutional, and actually the Law Society of Kenya is suing to end it. There's still a heavy police and military presence across the capital, the roads leading up to Parliament, the president's official residence, and the central business district actually remains closed. Even though Ruto has abandoned the bill, some, including a lot of Kenyan youth who have been kind of the main backers of the protests, are still calling for his resignation. Okay, so Matt, I want to turn it first to you. Kenya is seen, especially by here, us in America, as kind of this beacon of stability, right? It's economic transportation hub for the region. We just declared it a major non-NATO ally here in the U.S. It is a major security partner. It helps diplomatically trying to resolve conflicts across Sudan, Eastern Congo, and all of a sudden we see this massive breakdown this week. What does that mean? What does that mean for Kenya? What does it mean for us here in the U.S.? What do you make of this?
So just as you said, it's our stability beacon in that region. We've got to have that port. We've got to have that region and that partnership for things for counter-terrorism, for strengthening our national security goals in that region, for leveraging our relationship in that area to kind of work with other partners in the region. So the challenge of an unstable Kenya means that our strategic goals in partnership with Kenya are going to be threatened until that stability returns, until we get some calm that can allow those strategic partnerships to flex their muscle and do their work in that area and make the world a better place and candidly just achieve security goals that we're looking for. So that was the first and foremost thought. The good news is that politicians are politicians, and that we're seeing the president step back and take another look at the bill that led to the protest, and that there's likely to be ongoing efforts to make sure that the violence doesn't continue, whether that be through the army or through other means. But the good news is that they know the spotlight's on them. The recent trip to the United States amplified a lot of the efforts they have there. They're even trying to put in a tech hub. And so they're trying to really shine from their area of the world. And so now that they've got the spotlight, this is going on, they're going to work really quickly to try and make sure they can keep that spotlight for other reasons.
And Martha, when we kind of take a step back on the wider geopolitical stage, Kenya's a supporter of Ukraine, Israel. What does this mean on the broader landscape?
So Kenya has been a steadfast ally to the United States for a number of years. I think the relationship really solidified in the aftermath of the embassy bombings, in Nairobi way back when. And, in recent years, they've been a very important ally, particularly in the last 2 years in the multilateral arena, supporting Ukraine and actually being very outspoken at the United Nations against the Russian invasion of Ukraine, citing their own struggle with colonialism. So, it is interesting in my mind. They've been supportive of Israel as well. So this is not just a regional partner. This is actually, a stalwart ally on a broader geopolitical scale. And, I think if the Kenyan military goes too far, the situation could certainly devolve. And that would be a major problem for the United States. He was elected by a hair. Ruto was in 2022. So, this is, he's really trying to toe the line between, continuing on this path that he had promoted as a candidate to alleviate the suffering of people due to the crushing debt, while also, maintaining some, while also dealing with the crushing debt as well.
Les, you're our favorite conspiracy theorist. So I have to ask, earlier this week, Kenya also sent its first contingent of Kenyan police officers to Haiti to help quell gang violence there and bring some stability to Haiti, funny enough. That deployment has drew domestic criticism in Kenya. Some even question the constitutionality of sending troops. Is this just a coincidence that police ship out to Haiti and all of a sudden we need the police in Kenya?
It's a great question, Jones. I'm not sure this is a good fun Friday topic because it's a little bit of a downer. So maybe we should rethink topics for Fridays. No, I think with respect to the Kenyan police who are in Haiti now, it's interesting that there are a lot of folks on the Hill who had objections to that initiative from the Biden administration. They were very critical of the idea of sending these folks. They talked about their human rights record in Kenya. They may have had an inkling of what was to come here. So I think we probably ought to be keeping a closer eye on Haiti as well. I do think there's a couple of other thoughts. One, the Biden administration has really been putting all of its Africa policy chips on Kenya. Was the one state visit. Kenya has been a natural U.S. ally for a very long time, and that's terrific. But putting all of your kind of security equities on that relationship is a mistake. And we're starting to see that some of the inherent political instability in Kenya may be impacting that now. Ruto's been kind of an edgy politician his whole career. It's not very surprising that this has happened. I personally am always in favor of a good anti-tax protest, but these people clearly took it way too far. And then the other thought, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has weighed in, basically blaming the IMF for the situation in Kenya, which I view as a stalking horse for her advocacy of a greater Somalia. She's originally from that country. And the Somalis have never really liked the Kenyans. And so I worry a little bit about kind of a third column action here in the House of Representatives against the Ruto government. There's a good conspiracy theory for you.
I was going to say, I knew you'd come out swinging somehow. Not what I pictured, but you did still. That's a wrap on our Fall Lines episode. Thanks to Devlin Burney, Claude Jennings, and the rest of the NSI team for the help in producing today's episode. Again, join us on Monday for our last episode before the summer break. And right now, stay tuned for an exclusive sneak peek of our first episode of Control F. And if you like it and you don't want to miss the launch, you can already subscribe right now on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend.
But I think Eric put his finger right on it. Our number one challenge is, the lack of talent. It's not just STEM talent. I'm talking about the talent to build these fabs, to run these fabs. It's the entire kind of ecosystems, the equipment side. We need to rethink it from the beginning. And it'll take us, if we're lucky, a decade to get there.
And I think the Taiwan story is a vindication that if you make these investments and you have a long-term strategic goal in mind, you can be successful. But it also is a warning. This is what it takes to be successful, right? This is not CHIPS Act is 5 years. Taiwan did not establish themselves in 5 years. It took a long time.